Hi. Property owners in Turkey are generally unaware that there's a tax liability accruing on their property at 54% per year. Yes, that's right, 4.5% per month. That equates to 54% a year before compounding. Now, the Turkish taxman is going to get his money either on the sale date or most likely before that, because they're using all types of database cross-referencing now to track matters in Turkey. So, if you're thinking of estate planning, the single best investment you could make is to pay this tax liability down, because you're going to be saving yourself an accruing liability of 54% per year, and there's no investment you're going to find with a government guarantee anywhere in the world that can give you 54% a year. So paying this liability down is the best thing you can do with the first money you've got for investment for your estate planning purposes. So that's the bad news, having the tax liability. The good news is that if you go to the Turkish government before he catches you and comes to you, then you can save yourself the penalty. And the penalty alone is, depending on the amount involved, is going to be roughly 2,000. So, yeah, it makes sense to save that penalty money just by doing it yourself with a voluntary declaration. The second good point is that it's fairly small amount of money we're talking about in general. On a 100,000 property purchase, it's about 1,400 in terms of the amount of tax liability. And on that penalty amount at 54%, if it's 1,400 on 100,000, that would be an accrual of 700 a year. So over a 5-year period, that's 3,500 plus the original liability amount equals about 4,900 to 5,000 over the first 5 years of owning the property on a 100,000 property purchase. So, it's not a great deal of money, but it adds up, and it's money for jam. So why on earth would you allow the Turkish government to eat your money for jam? Anyway, the third good point is that it's a fairly simple process which can be guided by an advisor, and we can show you a how-to guide to do it yourself. Well, of course, you can use a financial accountant that's registered with the taxman to do it, but if you use an advisor, it's probably going to run you fees of somewhere between 500 and 1,000. So it may not be what you want to do when you can do it yourself, and you just need to get the process started. There's a little back and forth. It'll take probably 4 to 5, 6 weeks, if that. And at the end, you make the payment of your liability plus accrued interest, saving yourself making the penalty payment. And then you're done. And you've done the smart thing. So a friend asked me to make this video to explain what was a potentially a bit of a complicated situation, and I hope I've done that. Just one final word. This tax liability accrues and derives from the fact that the common practice in Turkey is to understate the purchase price on the tapu at the Land Registry at the time of purchase. And since more than 95% of people do that, as it is the common practice, the vast majority of people are going to have to pay this tax liability at some point. So, I hope that's clear. If you need any more advice or help, just look for the contact details below. Send an email, and someone will get back to you and help you the way you need to be helped. Take care. Bye. Avoid the penalty on unpaid property transaction taxes and interest. Get the guide to the simple steps on how to do it yourself. Send an email to info@mytapu.com with the subject Avoid Penalty.